Hello guys, Blair Harrison, aka Harrison Production. It's been a while, hasn't it? You probably wondered where the hell have you been in the past 2 years? Well, stuff happens, you know. Recovering from a lockdown, starting a new course, being in a band, the usual. So I didn't really have time to do a lot, but today, Friday the 2nd, excuse me, Friday the 2nd of December, I decided, hey, why not make a video? And one that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. Now I haven't done really a lot of reviews. I wouldn't say I'm like a professional in reviewing, but gotta try something, I guess. And today I want to do this book that came out. Oh, when did this came out? A few days ago, actually. No, last month it was. I think it was around November this came out, and I read it about what was it, 2 or 3 days. So if you don't know what the video was about or you can't read the title, today I'm reviewing A Movie Making Nerd by James Rolfe. But before we get into the video, I thought I'd mention that just want to say I'm not paid by James Rolfe or the Cinemassacre folks or the Screenwave folks into doing this. So if you're one of those folks who hates James Guts for some reason, or you're part of that cult, the Cinemassacre Truth cult that likes enjoying whatever illegal chemicals it is that you believe that he's an evil trembling goblin or whatever. Gremlin? Gremlin goblin or something like that. Then that's up to you, but so this is just my thoughts that no one's gonna watch or even care. So, what can you do? Anyway, let's get into the video. This has been something I've been excited and interested to read in ages. I think he first announced it about, was it 2019 in an update I think he was doing? Can't remember, but the moment I heard that, I was intrigued because I wanted to know what it's like. I've been a follower of James Rolfe for a bit. I became aware of him, it must have been 2011, and it was through a an old friend during secondary school. That's high school for you Yanks, in case you don't know what that means. Second year would have been 13 years old. My mate who was older was getting into the Godzilla films. And I think he recommended me to watch the Cinemassacre's Monster Madness Godzilla phone videos. So that's what I did, and I thought it was fascinating because I'd never really seen a kaiju film, at least not that I was aware of, or someone in the form of Godzilla. I think, well, I didn't know it at the time. The only closest to Godzilla I'd seen the character was in a Simpsons episode. But that's how I discovered them. I watched them. They were fascinating to watch. I really liked James's humor. And then obviously after that, I discovered his NES review as the titular and angry video game nerd character, which I thought was hilarious, because up until that point, I'd never seen anything like the angry video game nerd. My kind of YouTube viewing experience never really got there yet. So when I seen that, I thought it was funny, and I think like the way he would describe how he gets really angry very easily was pretty funny to a 13-year-old. Because come on, don't all 13-year-olds like to see failures having a tantrum over something? We all do. So, and then another thing I discovered by then was a little video he did. It was called Cinemassacre 2000, which was his 2000 video. Well, he calls it film, but I call it video because, I'm awkward like that. And that was really inspiring to me because obviously, I hadn't really thought about, getting into the whole kind of filmmaking scene. Because, I was a fan of, films and mainly a lot of television. But, watching that was inspiring to me, as a 13-year-old. Especially seeing someone like him who was making these films like Snacks, the head incident, before the age of internet and not even on a budget. You're thinking, how enough can he do that on such a low budget? That interested me, and I got invested in trying to make my own films, which never happened after time. Instead, what I did was spend the most of my time editing videos. But obviously there was the whole Renegade Doctor thing, which is something I guess you could say that was definitely inspired by the works of James Rolfe, and I've been an avid follower ever since. So, a movie making experience. This is mainly about the career of James Rolfe. Basically, if you've never seen or read an autobiography, it's usually the author themselves telling about their life story up until whatever current event it is. I will warn you, if you're a fan of James Rolfe like I am, Senate Massacre, The Bored James, the Monster Madness, you might be a bit disappointed. He doesn't really go into a lot of his internet career. A bit, but not too much. Doesn't really go into depth about it, which even I thought was a bit really odd. Because you think, you would have mentioned that because I mean, then again, half the folks, let's be real, half the folks buying this came to see James Rolfe because of Angry Video Game Nerd. I mean, he does mention like maybe the first season a bit, but he doesn't go into depth like he does with all his documentaries or behind the scene making videos like he's done for the series. So I don't know if he just couldn't be bothered or maybe he knew that the fans knew that too much, but bit of a missed opportunity for newcomers who might have not even know or even heard about James Rolfe to that point. So bit odd. But apart from that, this book actually looks more into his movie making career. Uh, I don't if you don't know, James Rolfe has been making movies since he was about I think he was a kid. I don't remember. I think it was Jimmy versus the Punching Bag from 1989. So he would have been about what, 8 or 9, which is a bit odd to count as your first film, but hey, his, not mine. So let him do what he do. And yeah, it's an interesting one, and it also goes into the making of the Angry Video Game Nerd, the movie, which I know those who love it are going to enjoy. It's a metaphor, they don't. So this is my opinion. What did I think of the book? What did I think? Personally, I really enjoyed it. I think what I've always liked about James Rolfe is his personality. When he's not playing the angry video game nerd or bored James or the bullshit man or whatever character, what I've always liked is his kind of calm, chill, and relaxed mood. He seems like somebody you can have a conversation with. He's not like someone, say, Doug Walker, who's full of themselves and think they're like the ultimate filmmaker or something. And as well, his film knowledge, especially films made, oh, geez, I guess you could say before the 21st century. His stuff with the Godzilla films, the Universal monster films, the Hammer films, any genre, whatever it is, it's always fascinating to see through his eyes what it is that appeals to him. And reading this book was definitely something. You definitely get to see the person himself from his childhood to his loneliness during high school and making films. I related to a lot with it, especially like when he's going about what it was like during the high school days. Before the internet or social media was a big dominant platform that it is today. He was somebody who was alone. And I felt that because, I don't want to make it about myself. As someone who was a lonely kid, well, I wasn't lonely, I had a sibling, but you know what I mean. Didn't have a lot of friends in high school and who just sat at home consuming media. I related to a lot of that. The trust of people, trying to get people to act in his films. I've related to that. I've worked on small micro budget productions where half folks, yeah, there are some folks who want to do it, but there are some who take the absolute mick by, making it about them. Or for some reason they can't commit to it because whatever reason, I've felt that, the annoyance of trying to get, the right people on set on time, and then usually, one's probably late or the other's like, I don't know, never bothered turning up. We've all been there, but we work around it. As him as a person, learning about him being kind of a shy person. I've always felt that in his videos. I mean, especially when it got to kind of like the, oh, this is old, the rental reviews. Remember that, everyone? Yeah, no one does. I've always felt he seemed like a kind of shy guy who never really gets what he wants to say because, you got three loudmouths, wanting to take the sense of the stage, even though it's called Son of Massacre and not, the Screenwave Gang. But hey, oh, it is what it is. So I think with this, it works. He sets his mind out. So it is a fascinating story, seeing like his life, friendship, and commitment. But obviously there were the sadder stories, which are very sad. Obviously him being a loner, not fitting in, loss of family members, near fatal death experience. That was something I remember when I watched that video he did. Oh, and of course, job experience. That's always something. Learning about some of the most craziest people he's met through jobs. I think we've all been there, where we've been in some sort of job profession, and we always meet one Karen or Ken who take it way too far, or we know some sort of staff member who is arrogant and pompous. I read that and I was really pissed off reading it because I was like, oh God, it takes me back. You just want to punch half these folks. And yeah, it's not really like dominant. It's more like him kind of telling you about himself, but telling you the stories around him, if that makes sense. Kind of like a storyteller. That's how I would take it as. And then obviously he talks about doing the AVGN videos for small bit. He mainly talks about season one, which was understandable why he did it. And then he kind of skips over it because, well, the main reason of this book, in my opinion, oh, hit the microphone there. The main kind of selling point I find with this book, it's really about the making of the AVGN movie. And again, the book is more about making films. Now, some people might be a bit iffy on because obviously James Rolfe has only made one feature film at the moment, which is the Angry Video Game Nerd the movie, but he has made tons of short films. Now, some folks, for some odd reason, might not consider them as films. I personally in the mind that anything can be a film, no matter how long. It could be a 3 minute film, 5 minute, 15, 30, 48, 90 minute, whatever. So, it really talks about a lot of his short films, I would say. If you're somebody who isn't a fan of that stuff, you might be a bit disappointed then he doesn't go into like the video games. He only talks about it like a wee bit. He talks about when he's talking about what was it, when he was 8 or something, when Super Mario Bros. Came out on the NES. And obviously when he talks about the Angry Video Game Nerd and especially about E.T. the video game, the Atari one, that was the subject for the Angry Video Game Nerd, the movie. This is the real one, and this is something that fascinated me because, like I said, at the time recording, he's only done one feature, which is that film. And reading the story about the concept of how it was made before it went into production and the various problems. Because I can attest, I can remember being around the time when he was making that film. Like I wasn't there on set, obviously, but being a viewer and remember thinking, when's this film gonna come out? Because it was ages. It was about a year. Yeah, it was a year because he had to get Mike Matei to help out with the Cinema Massacre channel, which obviously we all know how well that went. We definitely got some eye candy moments, such as the Minecraft video and his Elmo review, which is something. And I can remember you know, when's it going to happen? And then occasionally going on his website and then, looking up a post or a little short video about the progress of the film. I remember the one where um, he was walking on I think it was a desert on the set of the film, which was amazing to see. And then obviously his little short interview with the programmer of ET. I forgot his name. Howard. Oh, what's his name? Howard. Washard. I apologize for getting his name wrong. Massive apologies. I'm not into the whole care thing. I probably should have done my research, but I don't do these things. So that was some. But to read the book about the making of is fascinating, especially the production side, because obviously, because I'm a film student who's doing a course, because all I've had to deal with was going up to lectures and saying, well, not saying, but send them a film, and then they'll say, well, that's good, but you need to do these consideration. Then the paperwork, which is something else. Pre-production paperwork is not fun. You know, you got to write everything as possible. But this film definitely taught me a few things. One of them being having a lot of budget, because apparently I didn't know this with film. It talks about how you have to pay a lot of taxes, which surprised me. Nothing I'd seen ever mention about paying not just the investors, but the bank and the tax. I didn't know about all that. Something a bit obscure. I don't know if that's just a thing in America. I don't know if it's a thing here in the UK, but any proper filmmakers, if you want to tell me that's true, let me know, because I like to learn these things. And then him going to Los Angeles, which I always thought was an odd choice. Why he would go to Los Angeles? I know Los Angeles is like the most expensive area, and I always thought, why did he need to film there? But reading the book, it made me kind of understood why he went there. At the same time, I was also like, you still could have done it somewhere cheaper, but that's the thing. And also, what this film also taught me a lesson about is Los Angeles. It's not bloody cheap, apparently. It's ironic how it's always considered the kind of Oz, the gold mine to go to make films and all that, because that's where all the celebrities, filmmakers, musicians, everyone lives. That's not the truth. It's just basically London. If you ever been to London or anywhere like that sort of area, you find out it's not bloody cheap to film. Actually, then again, nothing's cheap these days. But I think with Los Angeles, you find out it's actually a nightmare to film around, because they have very limited spaces, limited hours that you're allowed to film in. I mean, that's why nowadays you're seeing a lot of these filmmakers going to other places in the US or even outside the US, because there's been some American productions that have come here in Scotland, which surprised me. And I always thought, why are they coming here? You thought they would have done it in America. Now I know why. It's not bloody cheap to film there. And obviously another reason is because unique buildings. Uh, I don't want to give too much away, but that's just some of my highlights. Seriously, I recommend it if you really want to get into films and you want to learn about feature films and how the kind of process works. I recommend it. It's a good read just for that section. And then afterwards, he talks about the birth of his first child, which, yeah, I'm not gonna say much. Yeah, if you want to find out, read it. It's an emotional read, I must say, and this is somebody who doesn't want kids. But reading it about, the love, respect, and the delivery of children, it's it's something. It really touched me. Which has been another sort of controversial thing that's been on the Cinemasca truth, which is loads of nonsense. Because basically, folks can understand that James Rolfe is a dad and he doesn't have time. Well, when you read the book, he says what he says. He's a dad with two kids who doesn't have time. I know that's a meme with everyone, and obviously everyone loves to take the mick out of it and say, why doesn't he get a proper job? And I always say to those same people, you try and get another job, because it's not bloody easy. Take this from someone who's 24 and still try to look for a job. It's not fun. Sorry about that, the battery just died there, so the frame and angle might be slightly different, so apology about that. Where was I? That's it, I was talking about James Rolfe, about his family. Reading that, it kind of made me understood why he works the way he does. You know, some people have kind of criticized his kind of acting in Angry Video Game Nerd, where he kind of looks like, he's kind of forcing the anger. But it's like he says in the book, once you have kids, everything changes. And I can't say that because I've got friends who have kids. And let me tell you one thing, they definitely change. Um, because kids are a responsibility and a commitment, which is something the folks at Cinemassacre Truth never will understand. So the best way I could describe this book, it's more like somebody talking about mainly the love of passion of filmmaking, with some other bits about life and that. He doesn't really talk a lot about Bootsy and Carla Justin. I know there was a bit of stuff behind the scenes, or so I read. I don't know if it's true. Doesn't really talk about them that much. Surprisingly, they don't talk about the Screenwave guys that often, which is interesting because I thought they would have been like the main focus point. Because I mean, if you've seen a lot of Cinemassacre's videos, they'd been a lot dominant, but I guess because of the criticism they received because of the constant appearance of the Screenwave guys. I guess they just thought, yeah, let's not put too much in there. So it's a good book with some detail missing. So again, if you're somebody who wants to know everything, and I mean everything about Cinemassacre, like the internet days, how he makes the angry video game nerd, Board James, bullshit videos, you're going to be disappointed by this. And even I was baffled why he doesn't talk about this. But then again, I guess what is there to talk about? Making videos a lot often. He briefly talks about a bit, but not much. I mean, I guess if you want to know everything, every detail, you can always just watch the update videos he made, and obviously the various making of ABGN videos. Season, episode, that sort of thing. So it's a good read. This is where my criticism kind of begins. Well, first off, the formatting of this. Now, I don't actually own a physical copy of this book, as you can see. Now, I read a ebook on Kindle. The formatting on Kindle, when it first came out, was a bit sloppy. A lot of books in Kindle are formatted in a certain way where the text is a bit up close. I guess you could say about there, and you can read it very clearly. But with James Rolfe's book, it was a bit too far. I guess about roughly about that. And but that's mainly me because I've been accustomed to Amazon's, well, Kindle's up close text. So I had to zoom in, and there was problems where I'm scrolling through, reading a bit, and then all of a sudden if I move it, you know, up, which goes down, it takes me to the next page, which I must have done about maybe 50 times reading this book. So that was a wee bit annoying. Um, but I did read through various updates I get from Amazon where basically they have been correcting that. So I don't know if they sorted that. I haven't tried it because I just haven't had time to. I said the James Rowe quote, didn't I? I don't have time. I said it. Watch the Son of Massacre fans get mad at that. Now they're going to be making a video of the Harrison Productions Truth page or something. Basically, a lot of outside influence got in the way, so I haven't read the update one, but that is a warning if you're going to read that. Just watch out for the formatting of the text and the book itself. And I think another problem I had was the font. I don't know what the font he used, but it's definitely not Arial, or at least or whatever font it is on Kindle. I don't know my font that well. I only know Arial and Futura. Um, so that was a bit strange to read through. It took me a while to get my head around. Um, but it's just a niggle. But I think my biggest problem is the length of it. Now it's roughly about. Oh, screw it! I'm just gonna get the Amazon page just so I can know how many pages. I think it's like 200, wasn't it? Is it 200 pages? Okay, no, that's a lie. It's actually 328 pages. It's odd because it feels like 200 pages. That's really my biggest issue. It was a nice read, but it was a bit fast, and you know, I wanted more. The best way I could describe it is like going to McDonald's. You order whatever your choice of McDonald's meal, you eat it, you leave, and you feel, you enjoyed it, but it doesn't fill you up. You want something like an Italian or Chinese meal that's filling. Whether with McDonald's, you just have it and a wanna, and then you move on. You just want something more out of it. That's how I describe this book. Now, I don't know if that was the intention, kind of like with the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, how he wanted to make it about 90 minutes. I don't know if that was the same applied to this book, that he wanted to, you know, not make it a slog, but not make it too fast. I don't know how to describe it. It just felt very fast. There were some parts that were missing, but again, it's him, so I can't really say anything because I'm not him. But all I can say is it's a bit of a fast read, which was nice, and I did enjoy the moment. Like I said, the highlighted moments, I've said that I didn't want to say much because I'd recommend you all read it for yourselves. A lot of it I do appreciate, but I do think there could have been a wee bit more detail. But that's just me. I want a bit more in my detail. So the big question: would I recommend a movie making nerd? I'd say only read it if you're already a fan. It's mainly for the proper fans who wants to see it. For a newcomer, I don't know. It's not really. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not like a book, say, I Cunt by Cunt and the Gang, where you're getting all the detail about Cunt's music, but you get more about Cunt, the person, and the various people they have met. James Rolfe feels a bit limited. It feels like kind of like a one character film, solo film, if you will, with maybe occasional supporting characters coming. That's how I would describe it. There's a lot of void in the gap, There's a lot in the gap that hasn't been filled. So overall, I'd say it's worth a read, but mind you, you have to be a fan to know the lore of James Rolfe and that. And you really have to be, what's the word? Okay with him not acknowledging everything that you want to learn from him. You know? My rating, 3.5 stars out of 5, I'd give it, Good read, fascinating stories, and you'll love James Rolfe the person, but I do think it could have been a wee bit structured better to make a reading that feels like that was worthwhile. But that's just me. So thank you for watching this absolute mess of a ramble of a review. I hope you enjoyed this. Are you a James Rolfe fan? Are you a fan of all biographies? What did you think of this book? Do you think he did well what he said, or are you like me who thought he should explain a bit more? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time, whenever we be. Take care.